Here.
Royce C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3. J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
They will be here momentarily. I can feel their presence. Welcome, sir.
Is it time?
Yes.
Time flying when you're having fun.
Our invocation today will be delivered by Honorable Ron Bertel, and afterwards, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you, Your Honor. You all bow with me. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we pause as we begin this time of work, and we declare our trust in you and our thanks in you for all the goodness that you've given us. As we look around the world, we see tragedy and destruction and wars and famines and terrible things going on, and we're truly blessed to live in Tarrant County, Texas. And that blessing has been provided by your hand, and that we pray that you would continue to protect us and provide for us and defend us against the evil that's in this world. And today I ask for your spirit of Joseph to be placed upon these court members in the way that he oversaw the administration of the affairs in Egypt so long ago when there was a terrible famine in the land. Because he trusted in you, that nation was brought through that famine with prosperity. I just pray that your wisdom would be poured out on these men today, that the decisions that they make will be right in accordance with your will, and that you will be profitable for us. We thank you for all the blessings you've continued to give us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Board members, we have one or more agenda announcements for you this morning.
One or more.
All right. Good learner.
Well, that's yet to be determined. But
Now I need to step back and just catch my breath since I've done my thing. So, if we could go to page 3 of the agenda under Human Resources, item 8G3. This is a waiver of criminal benefits for the criminal courts. We're going to ask that we hold that until after close today. Also, under purchasing, item 8I1. This is sale of recycled paper. It's bid number 2011-071. There is supporting document, new supporting document in your red folder as it relates to that particular issue this morning.
what was that number again?
It was 8I1. Also, members of the court, you might have noticed on your agenda that we have a work session today. That work session will be after closed, and it will be in room 504C in this building. And then finally, members of the court, I just want to make you aware that the PEBC will be meeting this Wednesday at the COG. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 15th. Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We have, I believe, 3 proclamations today. The first is a proclamation regarding Meals on Wheels, and I understand that Barbara Lundgren, from the Director of Development for Meals on Wheels, is here. So if you'll please come forward, I'll read the proclamation into the record. Whereas Meals on Wheels Incorporated prepares and delivers meals to elderly and disabled persons who are unable to prepare meals for themselves, and whereas for the past 38 years, the citizens of Tarrant County have benefited from the delivery of over 14 million meals to our homebound neighbors. And whereas this organization has a volunteer force of over 5,000 persons who donate their time, vehicles, gasoline, and energy to deliver over 985,000 hot meals to Tarrant County residents annually. And whereas Meals on Wheels case managers make over 13,000 home visits annually to act as advocates for clients. And whereas no client is ever refused service because of inability to pay. And whereas these efforts have resulted in the improvement in the lives of the homebound and disabled in Tarrant County, with continued personal independence, daily visits by caring volunteers, well-balanced meals, and assistance of professional case managers, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2011 as March for Meals Awareness Month in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 22nd day of March 2011, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Write this plaque down.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of all of the homebound people that we will serve meals to today. We will deliver a little over 4,000 meals to over 2,000 households in Tarrant County. And with your support, both financially and through volunteers that work for the county but volunteer for our program, we are able to make sure that everyone who needs a meal is on our program. We're very proud of our past that we do not have a waiting list. Many of the programs in the nation have waiting lists. And our board of directors that founded our organization many years ago and the boards that have succeeded them feel that it is not appropriate to put people on waiting lists. So we do our very best to raise the money that we need and the volunteers that we need to make sure that people are fed. I can tell you that we started last week our 200th delivery route. So every day in Tarrant County, 200 routes and 44 distribution sites are staffed by volunteers. And we certainly couldn't do this without your help and your support. So we want to thank you very much for helping us make March an awareness month for Meals on Wheels. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know that we have a number of our folks here in the county who deliver meals on a daily basis, and so we appreciate again very much the organization, but also the support of our employees and the volunteers who do this for them. Next, we have a proclamation regarding Poison Prevention Week, and it's for ratification, and I will move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Brooks.
Yes, sir. This morning we have a proclamation honoring some of the angels among us. It's National Social Work Month, and I would ask that you read the proclamation into the record, please. Judge.
Whereas social workers are positive change agents who dedicate their careers to helping people transform their lives or improving environments that make such progress possible. And whereas more than 640,000 trained social work professionals in the United States work tirelessly in agencies, hospitals, hospice, schools, universities, legislatures, private practice, corporations, the criminal justice system, and the military. And whereas social workers are advocates for access, equality, and fairness, and improve the fabric of society by caring for those who have lost their voice. And whereas social workers help people explore new opportunities in the face of serious life changes and challenges, as well as work to change systems and customs that limit the ability of vulnerable individuals and groups to lead fulfilling and productive lives. And whereas schools of social work train socially conscious people to make a real difference in the world through service and leadership. And whereas social workers strengthen communities, expand options, and work to facilitate humane changes in policies and legislation that improve the lives of everyone. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim March 2011 as Professional Service Work Month and call upon all citizens to join with the National Association of Social Workers and the 573 members of its North Central Texas Fort Worth area branch in celebration and support of the social work profession. In witness whereof, we heretofore set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 22nd day of March, 2011.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The motion passes unanimously.
Here this morning to accept this proclamation on behalf of social workers everywhere are Barton Miller, Program Manager, Tarrant County Mental Health Diversion Program, on behalf of the North Central Texas Fort Worth area branch of the National Association of Social Workers, Mary Lou Armendariz, on behalf of our Tarrant County Human Services Department, a host of members of that department, and the state president of the National Association of Social Workers, I'm sorry, whose name I have forgotten.
It's Pat Gleason Wynn.
Welcome this morning.
I'm going to take the picture. I'm very pleased with them. I want to thank the Commissioners Court for this recognition of National Professional Social Work Month. I'm Dr. Pat Gleason Wynn. I'm the president of the National Association of Social Workers, the Texas chapter. I'm also a resident of Arlington Precinct 2, which, by the way, Commissioner Wynn, my son's name is Andy Wynn, so we kept saying that he was running for your position. No, don't worry, no fear of competition.
She keeps wondering where that paycheck's going.
In Tarrant County and around the state of Texas, professional social workers work diligently to strengthen families and support caregivers and assist our citizens to obtain needed resources to make it through these tough economic times. And we continue to work for all the citizens of our county as well as for the state. And so your recognition of our hard work through this proclamation is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming.
Could I ask that all of the social workers in the audience please kind of get up? There you go.
Thank you all. Board members, you have before you the consent agenda.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one additional item to bring to you this morning. This is item number 1. We're requesting that the Court approve the submission of an FY12 and 13 year grant for the Other Victim Assistance Grant application for the District Attorney's Office. This is something that will allow us to employ an additional person in the Victims Assistance Unit.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell?
We have one item we're asking the court to consider this morning, and that is a request that the Commissioners Court approve the release of approximately $50 million of collateral as outlined in your court communication to bring us back down to our after-tax season peak levels.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Phillips?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a real property lease with Tarrant County 911 district for building space in the new Northwest Sub-Courthouse in Lake Worth.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve change order number 4 to the Still and Freeman contract for construction management of the new Northwest Sub-Courthouse located in Lake Worth.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next one is we request that the Commissioners Court approve amendment number 1 to the contract with Arthur Wyman Architects for the additional architectural services related to the 1895 Clock Tower Historically Sensitive Rehabilitation Project.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And lastly, it is requested that Commissioners Court approve a professional services contract with Roof Tech for engineering, design, and full-time field inspection services related to the 1895 Courthouse Clock Tower Historically Sensitive Rehabilitation Project.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion, a second. Is there some significance to having historically sensitive and all of this stuff?
We like it.
Yes.
I just,
In a year or two, you'll get there.
was there some acronym that I missed if I put all those, did we need the HS in there for something, or was it just? Please vote.
Didn't want you to forget.
Motion passed
Thank you.
unanimously. Ms. Glenn, do you have anything historically sensitive that you're going to bring to us today?
Just myself.
I didn't say that. I didn't go there.
Very quick. Caught you off guard, didn't I? I have 3 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second item, we're asking the court to approve organizational changes for the tax office. The details are outlined in your court communique. What the court should know is that this change will not result in any sort of a change in a pay grade, and there's no fiscal impact.
Move approval. I second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And if you'll move down with me to item 4, we're asking for an approval of a waiver of paternal benefits for the district clerk's office. As detailed in your court communique, the waiver is for the civil family manager who's going to be retiring at the end of, it's going to be retiring when?
3/31/11.
Thank you, 3/31. In any event, this individual is leaving, at the end of February. End of February with 400 hours. The district clerk is requesting that 272 hours of that time, of the vacation time, be waived. The fiscal impact, we're estimating, will be approximately $15,391. We are anticipating some reductions, some potential reductions to that if we experience some salary savings when they actually make their decision on their new hire. And the department is requesting this waiver effective 3/23.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
We have 8 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-071, the sale of recycled paper. There was a handout in your red folders, as I heard earlier. Our recommendation would be toward a per unit price basis, according to the high bidders, paper and recycling solutions for the mixed ledger at $251 a ton, and cardboard to Waste Management Recycle America at $155 a ton.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 2 is another bid award recommendation for our bid number 2011-047. This is a roof replacement for the Thomas R. Wyndham Building. Our recommendation would be toward to the second low bidder, Jeff Eubank Roofing, in the amount of $413,901. We received a bid from a company called Denali Roofing out of Brunwood, Texas. There was a pre-bid conference that was conducted. They chose not to attend because of some things they missed by not attending that meeting. We received on March the 4th a letter from them asking that their bid that they be allowed to withdraw their bid.
GK, help me a little bit on this. Why is the county replacing that roof and not the city and county together?
Mr. Fulton maybe can help me a little bit also, but I believe what we did, we went ahead and paid for this 100% so that the city waived that half of that amount as fees for connecting to their water and sewer and building permits on our new buildings.
Okay.
We were able to offset about $500,000 worth of street rental and meter and sidewalk fees related to the jail project. So it's a swap.
Otherwise, if we hadn't had that to swap out with them, they would have shared the cost of this roof.
Yes.
Has there been a motion on this?
No, I don't.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item is another bid award recommendation for our bid number 2011-049. This is an annual contract for the transportation of human remains as used by the medical examiner's office. Our recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in your court communique. It should be noted that the bid that was received from our recommended secondary awardee, MS&N International, although they have the equipment, the ME's office did not feel that they might be able to provide the level of service required to handle this particular contract. With that in mind, it's recommended that we choose as our primary vendor AccuCare Mortuary Service, and we make MS&N International our secondary vendor and give them some on-the-job training. They feel like it's a secondary vendor which should not be utilized very, very much in this contract, that they can perform as they should.
I'll second. Was MS&N agreeable to this arrangement?
Yes, sir. By state law, we notified them, and they have no problem with that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 4 item is a bid award recommendation for CSP number 2011-005. This is a request for competitive seal proposals for the Tarrant County Clock Tower Historically Rehabilitation Program.
Historically sensitive. It's important.
There.
Historically sensitive rehabilitation program. After negotiations with purchasing and the facilities department, we would recommend this contract award going to Thomas S. Byrne, the amount of $3,879,500. If approved, we're seeking contract approval as well as acceptance of the performance of the payment bond.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 5 is another bid award recommendation for our bid number 2011-046. This is a bid for the purchase of additional metal shelving for the Records Management Center shelving system. That recommendation would be toward to the low bidder, Rack Express, the amount of $121,000.
Back on that courthouse clock tower, that was substantially under our estimate, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Well,
We had approximately $5 million budgeted for that project.
On the item that we're discussing, I'll move approval.
That's the item that we were discussing before he went back to the one that we weren't discussing.
I didn't say that.
On that same item, I
This
second.
computer is not working.
See, we have a motion and a second on the item that we were discussing before we discussed the other item that we weren't discussing, which I believe is, yes. Is there any discussion on this particular item? Well, I just want to, we're going to give you plenty of time there, so we didn't go back. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, at least at this time.
Number 6 is another bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-045. This is a request for proposal for Family Preservation Program for Deferred Prosecution Probation Youth for Juvenile Services. Recommendation would be toward the Santa Fe Youth Services in the amount of $160,000. It should be noted again that we did receive a lower proposal price-wise from Youth Advocate Services. They did not sign their addendum, which affected the pricing. Juvenile Services Board was made aware of this and recommended approval at their meeting on March the 2nd.
How did not signing the addendum affect pricing?
Couldn't be guaranteed. We couldn't guarantee that they would stand by the pricing that they submitted.
Okay. Move approval.
Second. Discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 8 is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-060. This is a bid for the sale of a used oxygen concentrator. We received a single bid from a Judith Scott. We did ask for 2 forms of identification.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is item in regards to RFP number 2011-068. This is a request for proposal for inmate calling services. If you remember, the specifications were sent to all the court members on the 3rd of March, as we had promised. Hopefully everybody has had time to take a look at the specifications. This has truly been a group effort. Several people here in the audience this morning to answer your questions, if there are any. Amy Barnes, Pete Rizzo, and Kurt Buchert from IT. DA Joe Shannon, Ray Reich was involved in this process. Bob Knowles, Eric Metcalf from the Sheriff's Department, and from our department, Gwen Peterson and Ralph McBroom. We're asking the court this morning to approve the specifications for this RFP. We're asking for permission to take bids for this RFP, and we're seeking permission to conduct a mandatory pre-bid conference meeting.
Bob, is the Sheriff's Department satisfied with this RFP?
I do have
approval.
I do have one ask that we make one amendment to that agreement.
Withdraw my motion.
And Jack, I apologize for not getting with you this morning on this.
You can interrupt me anytime, Mr. Mayor.
Go right ahead and make your amendment.
Commissioner, I apologize. There's certain things a person ought not do, and that's one of them. So
Go ahead and propose your amendment up there.
we're asking for a commission of $1 million on an annual basis. We've gone back and we have had a decrease in jail population on average for the last 3 years, and we also took the revenue that the revenue amounts that we had been getting for the last 3 years and averaged those, and that was approximately $1.1 million. Last year, our revenue was about $918,000. I would suggest that we raise that $1 million to $1.1 million guaranteed for the contract. That gives us an amount that averages our last 3 years. And the contract itself is negotiable after the first year as far as pricing is concerned. But I would ask that the court make that correction. Instead of $1 million, make it $1.1 million.
Does that reflect the increased population that we will have when we open the new jail, or will we renegotiate at that time?
Commissioner, I believe that, I don't know how many more people we're actually going to have in our jail system by opening up.
Just shuffle the...
Yes, sir.
Probably just shuffle what we have.
I wouldn't envision, I mean, we've got capacity now, so I wouldn't envision that just because we open a new facility, there are going to be people standing in line to spend the night there.
But we looked at it, or I looked at it yesterday, and I think that the 1.1 million would be a fair number to ask as a commission on this.
Move approval of the request, including the amendment.
More money for the county is always good, so I second that.
We've got a motion and a second now, let's discuss it.
Yeah, I guess the problem I'm having with it, we've got a pretty good revenue stream as it is. And the inmates' relatives that are calling and having to pay for this are the ones that's going to be coughing up more money. Is this really what we want to do?
Well, and I guess that's, from what I guess with the 1.1, what we're saying is that keeps everything at about the same place it is right now.
Well, right now, it's 900-something thousand, I believe.
918 last year.
918.
But I mean, is that, you said over a 3-year average, it's been 1.1.
Yes, sir.
So is there a reason for it to be moving down? I mean, is it declined every year to the 918, or has it been fluctuating? Give me the 3 years that you use for the average.
1.36 million, 1,075,918. It tracks pretty much the fact that we've experienced a decrease in the average jail population over the 3 years.
So the 1.1 would be, in effect, saying that we're going to increase over the last 2 years.
It would be higher, and you know, I think that, no, I don't think I know that my recommendation is simply, you know, where's that tipping point where you leave money on the table versus picking up that money and putting it in the county's pocket.
What discretion do we have to set rates once we approve this contract?
We can renegotiate, Jack, every year, I believe, on that.
Well, but I mean,
and we would probably
so
look at it.
I mean, the amount that they charge, to answer to Commissioner Johnson's question, what they charge for the different calls, do they have complete control over what they charge?
They will submit the charges, the amount that they will charge in this RFP, and they'll be locked into that, but we can modify that every year.
The year that it got up to $1,300,000.
Yes, sir.
So what revenue did we get that year?
That was our share of the revenue, sir.
So we're not going to lose any money if they go over $1 million. What you're saying we'll lose if they go to 900 and something, then we're going to be guaranteed $1,100,000.
In this contract, the amount of money that we get is set by how we bid this thing. We're saying that it'll be $1 million.
So it's a fixed price deal, and so whatever they get. Are we on a fixed price? No, we're not on a fixed price right now. We're on some sort of variable.
It's a variable issue. It's very difficult to evaluate the RFPs when you have two different variables, one being the price of the call versus the revenue that we receive. And so, remember when we talked about this in court on March 3rd, we said that this one was different because we were going to ask for a set amount to be given to the county rather than a variable, and then we would evaluate these RFPs based on what the proposed vendor would charge for telephone call.
I would suggest that we approve the item plus the addendum, and if the market tells us that that's not realistic, then we can come back and adjust our asking price.
Well, Jack, what is your opinion?
I think with the ability to conduct a mandatory pre-bid conference, I bet we hear something, good or bad. We'll know by the time we leave the room.
Well, but let's go back to, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Roy, but I don't want to have to go through this process a couple of times, and I guess, could we do it in such a way as that we give them an option, says, okay, if you're going to guarantee us a fixed price of 1.1, tell us what your rates are going to be. if you're going to guarantee us a fixed price of $1 million, tell us what your rates are going to be, and then evaluate based upon that, because I don't want to, if we go with the 1.1 and they significantly increase those rates, and then we say, well, now, wait a minute, that's, because you're right, the people who are paying them are either, one, the parents, or two, that unsuspecting person who accepts that collect phone call from somebody in the Tarrant County Jail.
My understanding is the rates will stay fixed, right?
We can structure it and give them, and structure the RFP and have options. We can have them respond as many different ways as we choose to do. So we can accomplish that if that's what the court chooses. We can do that.
So is the motion that we've got set up right now, I think right now we've got the guaranteed at 1.1. Do we need to give you the flexibility of variable fixed prices in order for you to be able to put that RFP out?
Would be better. Sir?
Commissioner Brooks, do you have a problem with variable amounts?
Variable rates, that means?
No, it wouldn't be variable. It would be a variable fixed price. And what I'm saying, variable is not the right word to be used.
Optional.
Options, different options. One option would be maybe 1.1 million a year, and then another option would be $1 million. In both of the instances, they're going to have to give us a flat, here's what we're going to charge for that year in order for you to get this. So we're not giving anybody any variables where they can move it past that contract bid that we're eventually going to approve.
It seems to me that the threshold question is, do we want to maximize revenue, or do we want to give a break to those who end up being consumers? If we ask for a commission of 1.1, then the amount charged per call is going to reflect what is necessary to reach that 1.1. If we give 1.1 and $1 million as an option, then the call rate is going to be lower.
Well, that's assuming that there's only one vendor. We got vendors out there who may decide that they're willing to come off a little bit in order to get the business, and we're not going to know that until we do the bid. But if we go out for 1.1 and we don't like the increase, then I think we would have to turn around and go back out for another one if we wanted it to be more.
You said that there was a committee that worked on this.
Yes, sir.
And you came up with this recommendation of $1 million.
Yes, sir.
How did we get the 1.1? Was this discussed with the committee?
No, sir, it wasn't. We ran the numbers yesterday afternoon on the 3-year average, because we wanted to look to see how the numbers fluctuated over 3 years, and that's how I came up with the number.
Our logic would have been the same. I have no problem with the more money for the county. I would say yes. I would like to caution the court, though, with all due respect. We've already heard this has been bid all over the state. This is going to be a very sensitive document. Most of the folks we've talked to have received protests for this particular type of a contract. The only thing that I would see is if we give ourselves several options, I'd almost guarantee we'll get a protest from somebody.
Protest regarding the rate of the call?
Or either one or both. If we give them several options, although the county has a right to do what's best for Tarrant County, somebody's going to find fault with that. So it may lengthen the process. I'm just telling you what I've heard from other purchasing agents in counties across the state. It's a very sensitive issue. So we can do whatever you want. We will do what you want. Just up front, there may be issues with our decision. It'll take a little bit longer to evaluate it. That's okay. We'll get it done.
Commissioner Figgins.
A couple things. What's the maximum time somebody can be on the phone?
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Okay. What's the average call? Do you know? Minute-wise?
Probably
need IT to come up with that information. Amy or Rich?
While he's coming up, would you also talk with me a little bit? I mean, the GK, the decrease in jail population, I mean, I had not, that represents about a 20% decrease in revenue. Has our jail population over the last 3 years actually decreased? So hold that, or come up with that answer when Rick finishes answering Commissioner Figgis' question.
Local telephone call costs $3.80 for 15 minutes. We have a very complex structure right now. If someone calls to a phone that cannot accept a collect telephone call, a cell phone or an IP phone or some other type of phone, then there are other charges that are built in there that can run that call to $7 to $8 a minute.
A minute.
Not a minute, per call. On the long distance calls, there is a flat fee plus a per minute charge based upon the distance of that long distance call. And one of the things that we were trying to do by going through this process was to make it easy for the sheriff's department to be able to explain to family members what a call from the jail would cost. So we've taken all these different variables and we've brought them down to a few select categories that says, if this is a collect call to a landline local phone, this is what the cost is. If this is a collect call to a long-distance landline phone, this is what the cost is. If this call is a call to an account that, or to a telephone number that has to be a prepaid account that's local, this is what the cost is. If this call is to a account that has to be prepaid long distance, this is what the cost is. So by setting the threshold of what the revenue is, it makes it very easy for the sheriff's department to explain to people what the cost of the call is.
So I can call India for 10 cents a minute, but if I call Al Laredo, it might cost me $7 or $8 a minute.
You ain't calling India for 10 cents a minute out of the jail.
Well,
You may call it on your cell phone, but there's a big difference in what your cell phone is and what.
And the other thing that I will offer,
it sounds like a great business opportunity for somebody.
and I think
As long as they're willing to pay us $1 million.
Plus one.
Or 1.1 million.
And the other thing that I would offer, and I think Commissioner Johnson will echo this, is in the telephone world, when you lower the cost of the calls, you actually increase the volume of the calls. So that's one of the things that we were looking at, is if we get somebody who comes in and quotes low rates and understands those dynamics, if the calls are cheap, well, people are going to make more calls. So if they make more calls, then there's more revenue for the county and also for the service provider that we're going to give access to this calling.
But there's not more revenue for the county because we're asking a fixed rate.
Well, I think that's how Mr. Manus got to his 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Because the committee did have a lot of discussion about if we're over, what tickers or escalators can we put in there that would allow us to get our piece of that additional revenue.
How much is this question may not be for you, but how much is the total estimated revenue annually generated from this business? How much would a potential vendor could rack in annually, gross?
Today we get 43, or we get 53%, they get 47%, or whatever the math numbers are.
So that means
So it's about a $2 million business.
Okay, 53 to 47, you said?
Yes.
If I remember the numbers right.
That's the average, yeah. That's the percentage, yeah.
But out of their 47%, they have to pay for all infrastructure cost, all networking cost, all bad debt cost. So this essentially is a franchise that we give them access to.
So the 53% actually go toward
It goes to us. Yes, sir.
Whether they collect it or not.
Yes, sir.
Whether they collect it or not.
And that's part of the reason why we are seeing a decrease in the revenues, is because as they get better at defining their credit thresholds, they tighten up the amount of traffic that actually gets out that's not that's not collectible.
Okay. GK, you want to?
It's about a 5% decrease.
In jail
Pop from 2008 to 2010.
So to some extent, folks are using it less. Maybe that's because of the increase
in rates,
or whatever, but our decrease in revenue is in excess of what our decrease in jail pop is.
Last year's collected revenue, as our figures show, is $1,726,000 to the vendor.
Okay. So essentially, we can put together those tier option. And when we have the responses back, we can make our decision then. We'll see what the market can offer, right? Is that a better approach, you think?
Well,
I think right now, here's what we've got. Right now, what we have before us is a motion to approve going out with a $1.1 million annual franchise fee, or whatever you end up calling it, to Tarrant County. And that's the way the motion stands right now. So I think the question, what I'm hearing, basically the question I think centers around two different alternatives. One is, of course, one is that we stay with the motion as it is. Two is that we create two proposals, one at maybe 1.1 or one at $1 million, and send them both out in the same proposals and have them bid on both of them. And then the third is that we go with the original recommendation of the committee at $1 million. And so
900 and something.
I guess what I would ask Commissioner Brooks, since he's the one that made the motion, is do you have any desire at this point in time to change your motion?
I suppose we would benefit from having more information provided by two optional plans. So I will withdraw my motion and move that we ask the contractors to bid it with a $1.1 million annual commission, and again with a $1 million annual commission.
Show us what the rates would be for each of those.
Show us what the rates would be for each one of those.
I'll bet you there's about a 10%.
Yeah.
Although there might be somebody out there who really wants to get it.
Well, I can second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion now and a second. Additional discussion.
I'm just not sure that we're going to get anything other than a proportional decrease based upon 1.1 versus $1 million. I doubt that anyone is going to go through the calculations of trying to estimate what the delta in demand is going to be based upon the lower commission to the county.
Well, with all the potential loss from the state revenue, there might be an upward increase in jail population. That's what the speculation is, at least anyway.
And that's true.
Yeah, but based upon the fixed rate, we don't get any benefit of increasing population.
Yes, but we'll add more incentive to the...
If it goes up more than 15%, the next page has that. If it goes up more than 15%, in jail population, we have an opportunity to renegotiate.
Well, that's the first time anybody said that.
In any given year, or just in the current year?
It's in the RFP.
Is it in the current year? It would be for the next year, though. It would not be, and we have the ability to renegotiate each year anyway, don't we?
Yes. The way it's set up, it's each year. Fixed annual commission.
Each year. So we'll be stuck for that one. If jail pop goes up 15%, that $1 million is going to be the least of our worries. That's true. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Judge, again, I'd like to publicly thank everybody. We've been working on this for a long time. I failed to mention Miles Brissett, who's been involved in this deal, and to have the DA here and Bob Knowles and everybody. We put a pretty strong document together. We've looked at the best and the worst around the state, and we look forward to having our mandatory pre-bid and getting it out. And we'll, again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Lamb. Looks like Mr. Skinner.
Members of the court, we are requesting your approval of an interlocal agreement with the City of Saginaw related to improvements to Bailey-Boswell Road. This project is included in the 2006 Transportation Bond Program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Interlocal agreements, Commissioner Brooks.
I move approval of interlocal agreement with the cities of Benbrook and Fort Worth, items 8L1, A, B, C, and D.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Johnson.
I have 4 interlocal agreements, one with Blue Mound, one with Fort Worth, one with Fort Worth ISD, one with the Water Board, item 8L2, A through H. I move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments today?
Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Judge, Commissioners, I'm honored to appoint the following individuals to the Historical Commission of Tarrant County: Mr. Ron Pope of Arlington and Ms. Ellen Timberlake Votes of Arlington as well. We have communicated with these two individuals, and we found that they are very well qualified, and they have a deep interest in preserving what is historically important or historically sensitive to our county. So I would also honor to reappoint Ms. Juanita Gonzalez, Dorothy Rencurel, Mr. Larry Summers, and Mr. Ray McCoy to the Historical Commission as well.
I will second those appointments.
We have a motion is second.
And if I could add to the same motion.
Go right ahead.
I would, as a new appointee for Precinct 1, Mr. Brett Dwayne Oliver, and reappointing Cindy Wilson Eric, Joe Pirtle, Leela Standifer, Billy Joe Gabriel, Beth Dyer Kysor, and Franklin D. Moss.
And that's okay with?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for that. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
I second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manias.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 2 items to bring to you this morning. The first is the legislative update. Mr. Mendez has submitted his memoranda. I'd just like to point out that 1 or 2 things on this particular memorandum. The actual number of bills that were filed in this legislative session were about 1,451 bills less than were filed in the last legislative session. I think what you're seeing is the fact that we have a budget-related issue there and also the redistricting. So they're going to be concentrating on those 2 particular elements. The other thing that I would like to point out is something that we talked to you about a little bit last week, was that they, in fact, the legislature has, in fact, tapped the rainy day fund to balance the current biennium. And there's been some strong comments made by the leadership that there's not an intention to utilize any more of the rainy day fund as it relates to the next biennium funding. So that will continue to put pressure on the legislature to find ways of cutting costs in order to balance their budget. I'll be more than happy to try to answer any questions that you might have at this time. Your Honor, we can move then to item B. This is the Capital Improvements Program. While we are going to have a work session this afternoon on the new courts building, Mr. Phillips is here to address this item with you at this time also.
I would like to update the Commissioners Court on the progress of the jail project and the medical examiner's expansion project, both included in the 2006 Capital Improvement Program. First, the jail project's going well. The masons are setting granite blocks at the sidewalk level and laying courses of brick at the penthouse level. There are approximately 4,500 pieces of granite, 6,500 pieces of cast stone, and over 320,000 brick in the project. The brick for the project.
Count them all? You count them every day to be sure we got them all?
We will count every one of them, sir.
Who's accepting delivery on those things?
That would be Gilbane. Hopefully they're counting each one of those. The brick for the project was recently delivered, and the masonry contractor built a small sample brick panel with the color of brick that the Commissioners Court selected back in 2009. And they used the final selection of the brick mortar that was selected by the architect recently. And that brick panel is out in the hallway for your review. I want you to please be advised that the mortar color is a little darker than you saw back in 2009. However, it looks real nice.
Did you run that?
Is that a matter of opinion, or is that just?
We started work.
You've started work.
It ain't going to change. Meaning we stuck with it.
It does look good. And they spent a lot of time looking over some of the brick mortar colors, and it looks real good with that brick. The utility work in the street is in progress. We dug a deep hole in Belknap Street, placed a large concrete box in the hole, which will be used as our 30,000-gallon grease trap for our new kitchen. And it's quite a massive piece of concrete in the hole down there. Also, Encore Electric Delivery Company has completed the utility work in Weatherford Street, and the only thing we like now is some water works and sanitary sewer work, which should wrap up in May in both Weatherford and Belknap. On to the medical examiner's office project. The exterior brick and stone is looking good. The east and south side exterior is complete. The north and west side will complete in a couple of 3 weeks. Most all of the large mechanical and electrical equipment has been set, including the centrifugal chillers, the pumps, cooling tower, electrical panels, and large diesel generator. And lastly, the mechanical employee who was hurt in February of this year is back home and doing well. And that's all I have on those.
Any questions? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Now, what time are we going to start the work session? Going to be about noon, or
Hopefully it's about 11:45.
about 11:45? Okay. We'll now recess our open session and move to closed session to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Is it?
What?
I said, it looks like something Schwartzman came up with it.
No, I don't think so.
No, this court picked that. and I objected at the time.
Having returned from our closed session, we will now address the following matters.
Crystal. Good afternoon. We have just one additional item for the court. We're asking the court to approve a waive of paternal benefits for the criminal courts effective April 1st. The net impact to the general fund will be approximately $13,119.85 after salary savings.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Please show that Commissioner Fickus is not here. Any further business?
Do not adjourn this meeting. We're now going to...
I can if I want to.
Please don't, because if you do, we're not going to have a work session. We need to move now.
We can't have a work session without us. Well, we just have to reopen. We will now adjourn to 504C3 for recess. We will now recess to 504C3 for refreshments and work session.